Finn Andrews is the songwriter and lead singer for The Veils, whose fifth album, Total Depravity, is a dark, twisted journey. You can search Total Depravity on the RNZ website to hear Finn talking about the making of the album. Film director David Lynch and bass nerd LP feature heavily in the making of story. It's a good listen. Finn joins us in the RNZ studio just ahead of 8 shows across the country. Finn is English by birth, but attended high school on the North Shore of Auckland, which I believe is where many of the songs were penned for The Veils' debut album, The Runaway, found in 2004. Welcome, Finn.
Thank you. Hi.
Mostly factually correct?
Pretty good, yeah. Yeah.
You live in London mostly. I assume you're rocking the dual citizenship?
I am, yes, yeah.
It is a lucky thing to have, those two passports.
Yeah, it's good. It's, the English one's basically worthless now, but it's good to have the New Zealand one.
Keep the New Zealand one for when things turn to custard in the Northern Hemisphere.
Yeah.
And what's your relationship like with New Zealand? What Kiwi traits do you think you picked up here in high school?
That was the only minor inaccuracy in your opening.
Okay, there you go.
I've been here, I went to primary here as well, and I've sort of flipped back and forth my whole life. I kind of ended up here for the largest chunk at high school. But it was always around Auckland, but I went to Westmere Primary for a while, Glamorgan Primary in Torbay for a while as well. And so it's basically just constant ping-ponging between the two.
It's a unique perspective, though. I mean, those of us that grow up New Zealanders, we're all terribly proud of being Kiwi, but you grew up Kiwi, but you also were non-attached in some ways and had another perspective.
Yeah, I've been foreign everywhere, really. In England, I was the Kiwi kid, and here I was the English one. So it's just sort of, you get used to it, really, of not entirely belonging, but it's sort of, there's nice aspects to it. You can kind of, I guess you sort of end up picking and choosing elements from both the countries that you sort of take on yourself. I don't know. It's hard to know what I'd be like if I'd just stayed in one of them the whole time.
Well, it would have been very interesting if you'd just grown up in England. Would you have had the same? Would you have written the same songs?
Yeah, impossible to say.
Yeah,
it was. I have thought about it occasionally. I think it was those early. The year I first started playing music was. It felt like that could have easily not happened, and it felt very like I just sort of fell into doing it because of having friends that were playing music in the folk club in Devonport, and sort of being dragged up there and falling in love with it, really. But it did feel accidental, and like maybe that wouldn't have happened if I'd been in London.
That's interesting that you see it as accidental. I see it as almost destiny. You seem, I don't know what you would be if you weren't a front person in a band. You were so good at writing songs, so young.
You.
It's just seems like such a natural thing for you.
Yeah, I don't know. It was, I mean, maybe I would have found a way to it, but it seemed strange. Certainly when I was in London, where my dad lives, who was also a musician, I didn't really express much interest in it. And then sort of basically the second we'd sort of moved over here properly, I sort of started writing stuff. So I don't know if I needed a bit of geographical sort of distance from him as well. But be interesting to see. It's certainly the only thing I'm good at now, so it is good that I did find it. So I don't know what else I would have thought to do, but yeah.
A lot of artists who experience success at a very young age kind of struggle with that success in some ways. Was that similar for you? Because your debut album, you were still a teenager, I think, and wow, that was an incredible debut record. Still stands the test of time today.
Well, that's kind. I mean, yeah, it was, I don't know.
Mess with your head a little bit? Yeah,
I mean, we never had that sort of, like just cataclysmic sort of, like what Lords dealt with was, it's a whole other level. I just felt lucky we got signed, and like that was cool. We sort of got signed and got to tour, and that happened all very quickly. And it was more, I think I just felt like a bit of a fraud for a while, because you're still very much learning, and like I still feel like I'm very much learning. But when you're 17, you really, really are very much learning.
Yeah.
And so the idea that people would kind of pay money to see you do anything, it took me about 5 years to sort of feel remotely comfortable with that. So it's like, well, I'm really just sort of practicing in front of you. I hope that's okay. But that took a while. I was so nervous for ages, so it just felt like I had to. I didn't have any control really over what I was doing. It just felt like this constant battle with myself on stage. And,
yeah, I mean, I look back at where I was in my teenage years and early 20s and things like that, and I'm often like, Alex, you could have handled that situation better with a little bit of maturity.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it just took a while to catch up, I guess. I sort of wonder if those were all such early songs, which I really resented at the time. Sort of immediately after it was put out, I was already so sick of all of those songs, because they were like my first attempts at anything, and it was, just a real drag that anyone had to hear them. That's really how it felt. Whereas now it's just a nice little sort of time capsule of like, oh yeah, that's sort of 15-year-old me. That's sort of interesting to occasionally dip into.
I've heard you be quite critical of your own work in other interviews, Finn, and is it just a constant love-hate thing with your own ideas and processes?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think it's, I don't know. I think you're always, if you bother making something, you're kind of, it's all about sort of rustling around in there to try and find something that you feel like is worth something or sort of interesting in some way. So it's a slightly self kind of flagellating process as it is, and occasionally you find you sort of get a delirium with it. I've noticed it's either sort of a kind of euphoric experience of there's something good in there, great, and quite often that only lasts for an afternoon, and then you throw the song away because it's it's a strange process. You don't feel one way for very long, but it's sort of a constant. That's the interest in it, I suppose, is you don't entirely know what you're doing, and you're trying to always find something new in there. And part of that, I think, involves throwing stuff away and sort of being quite sort of strict with yourself with things. If you just sort of, I don't know, I feel like that anyway. I have to be strict on myself.
Having said that, how do you feel about Total Depravity? It's been out 6 months now, and you've taken the band and done a little tour around Europe and North America.
Yeah, that was that was cool. We had a lot of time with this one, which was really nice. We had time to really get it the way we wanted it, and I haven't listened to it since we started touring it and playing it. It's quite a Depravity-heavy set list, so I've just been really enjoying it, and hearing it in that context has been really cool. And seeing people getting into it in front of you sort of makes you feel good about it as well. So that's, I feel good with that one at the moment.
Good. I'm glad. I'm glad. It's a great record.
I'm being a real buzzkill about it.
It takes us to some pretty dark places on Total Depravity, as the title indicates, and often via other characters. You'll embody them. You'll put ourselves, make us see the world through their perspectives. Is that quite a liberating way to write, rather than writing about something you have experienced? I'm sad because somebody I love left me, or...
Yeah, I mean, they still feel very personal, but there's a little abstraction, and that sort of helps to talk about things, I find. That sort of real self-confessional kind of songwriting. I think that's because I was doing a lot of that when I was younger as well, and I guess I've enjoyed more and more, creating these strange little narratives and these various other people to speak through.
There's almost a literary quality to it, like an author would create a character for a book. And
yeah, I love all that. I mean, I'm writing all kinds of different things at once, so I think they all bleed into each other a bit, and I get sort of frustrated with myself writing songs sometimes, so I sort of have to have other things to turn to. So I think that might have affected it as well. So always writing stories and...
Oh yeah, what else do you write? Short stories and things?
Yeah, just
long
sort of
stories?
Ramblings. I wrote a sort of, I don't know, like there's about 12 things, like screenplays, sort of poems, like poetry sort of things, and children's stories, and I'd never release anything. They were completely just doodles, really. But so I guess that maybe that sort of affected it a little as well. I don't know. I sort of just see it all as one big thing of mulch you can kind of go into, and I guess there's a bit of cross-pollination as well. You're sort of taking things from various areas, and
I presume you're still under your heavy confidentiality contract regarding Twin Peaks. and your appearance in the upcoming David Lynch TV show, which comes out on May 21. Are you in the same situation as we are? Will you be seeing it for the first time on that date, or have you had glimpses?
No, yeah, I've seen nothing of it. Yeah, we're not allowed to talk about what we did, but it was a great time, and
so you'll be watching on May 21st with the rest of us.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah,
cool.
I hope we don't get cut out. But yeah, that's the main anxiety. But it was amazing to get the invitation, and it was we've been working on the record for like 3 years at that point, and he was one of the first people we played it to. So to have any kind of words of encouragement from him at that time was just like the best.
Amazing.
But yeah, so. Yeah, I think it'll be cool, and yeah, just great walking into the TV.
And I know you've been home for a week. Have you been catching up with school friends, etc., enjoying some New Zealand summer?
Yeah, it's the best. Just getting in the sea, I really love that. And seeing everyone, there's still such a close group of friends here from back then. Yeah, that's really special, always to come back. And we get to, I think they're all coming to this Sawmill show, so that'll be kind of terrifying as well. You just see everyone you grew up with in the same place watching you play, and my mom as well. So it's just that show's definitely going to be a disaster.
Wow! So you've played shows with David Lynch in the audience and all sorts of people, but you get more nervous when your mum turns up at Lee Sawmill.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing. Yeah.